Welcome to Qdabra's webinar. This is Patrick, and I'm really happy to be presenting to you today. We also have Elmel Clemente, who's the star of the show. She's actually the one that's responsible for all of the awesome new stuff you're going to see today. I'm just going to start us off here and give a quick overview of what we're talking about today is central flows. This is Qdabra's solution for adding workflows to your forms. All forms need some kind of routing, logic, approval, rejection process. And we came up with this new solution a couple of years ago. Actually, it was more than 2 years ago now. We actually had a webinar in June of 2021, and we wanted to provide a cost-effective, rich value add for your forms that was not Power Automate or Nintex. Those technologies don't integrate in the form. They're not in situ, as they say. They're not like built in as a task pane. So we wanted to provide something that was much more integrated. We also want to add a whole bunch of really cool stuff that you're going to see today that those technologies don't support, and give you other things like a dashboard, config form, and a database you can run reports off of. So that's kind of in a nutshell what the motivation was. The Central Flows gives you this easy to add approval process. You can just add to your forms in minutes. We've pre-configured it for you. You get a task pane. You'll see this in a second. The users don't have to go searching for save and submit. You can add all these cool features like responsive rendering for different device resolutions. You got a mobile phone, an iPad, or something like that. Just by adding this cool thing that Mel's going to show, it automatically makes the view responsive, which I think is really awesome. Plus, you get things like locking, which is like really hard to implement, but you get that for free. You get auto logout for free if someone's inactive for a period of time. You even get access externally from mobile using cell phone SMS texting, and that's all built into this. Administrators love this because they can just click on a button and quickly modify it. They don't have to go hunting off for some Power Automate or some special app. It's just right there in the Forms task pane. They can quickly make changes to it when they get user feedback. We'll show the dashboard today that shows all the templates, easy to find forms that are lost and that need to be highlighted, and then most importantly, it's the email, and it's the process of editing these emails. We have a very rich way of doing that you can't do easily in Power Automate. We give you basically a WYSIWYG editor, which is your forms view, to create the email bodies. These can be these kind of images. They can have like rich text. You can have fields from your form. It's very easy to drag and drop those in. And the submits are synchronous, so it's not going to delay any moment there while it's waiting for Power Automate. So you do need Qdabra Forms and DBXL to do this. We actually had a version that was working without DBXL originally, and we scrapped that and require customers to have DBXL. And the reason really is scalability. With DBXL, we have unlimited scalability, and what we saw with the SharePoint version, we had centralized it so that all the forms are going through one central list, a set of lists. Actually, there's like 5 or 6 lists, and we just couldn't scale it beyond 10,000 items. So we decided to just make DBXL required for this. So we'll talk more about this in a second. We actually have a document that we're going to be sending you to, if you're interested in installing this for the first time. We'll send you a document that describes. It's fairly easy to set up. We've done this for many customers already. So we have the instructions and everything. We'll send you that PDF document. But first, I'd like to switch to Mel to show a quick overview of what the solution entails. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the new stuff in v2. And then we're going to do another demo a few minutes later and show you how to add that to your forms. Mel?
Yes, thanks, Patrick. I can't wait to show our users, our customers, what we have in store for them. So let me show my screen here. And make sure I'm showing the right screen. You're seeing the dashboard, right?
No, I'm seeing a very cool graphic.
Okay, that's my screen. Okay, here we go. Now you're seeing the right screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So here's our Central Flows dashboard. I'm just gonna switch to the Show All tab where we can see like a library of all the form types that we currently have in the system. This one is actually live being used by one of our customers, but it's published on our website here. I'm going to open a new, an existing form here to show you how cool it is when the Central Flows XTP has been added to it. So here you'll see a different color scheme. We're adopting the colors to match their logo. So orangey kind of with some green here. So they've got different tabs here. So this again is an actual form that they're using today in their organization. So here's our task pane. This is part of the Central Flows XTP, and it's you can expand it, collapse it, what have you. But again, it comes included in the XTP itself. We've got these buttons here that are configurable via the config form, which I'm going to go to next. See, we have 3 buttons here. I'm just going to switch to the config form by clicking on the gear icon in the upper right corner there. So this will show the specific workflow steps for this form. And here we have a lot of steps here. And that's why I chose this form to demo to you, because you can see how a complex form can be used to, to centralize the workflow steps. And one of the key upgrades that we have in V2 is the ability to specify a condition such that the buttons only will run the rules or switch to the next step, next workflow step when the condition is met. Right, that's one, and we'll talk more about that later. And another cool feature is this designer here. If I switch to the designer, the graphical presentation of the steps here, then now we can see something like a min-text kind of interface where we see a bubble-like icon there for the step, and then we can add as much actions as we need for each, what do you call this? For each card here is a button. So this is where we're at in that form. Actually, it says form review is the current state. And in this current state, I'd like to see these buttons. So we'll switch to config form again. We can see that we only see those 3 buttons, even though we have a couple steps here. We have a bunch of approved buttons. But again, the form is smart enough to know which of these approved buttons will show. Actually, we're just using a conditional formatting to show only one of these buttons, and then on click, the form is gonna at the back, behind the scenes, will take a look or go through the form data and see which of these conditions are being met, and so switch to that specific step. So that's it. Later on, we're going to demo the how to add it in a blank new form, and also show you lock-in and all that cool stuff. Patrick?
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. That's pretty cool. I'm just going to share out the presentation again, and we're going to just quickly do another highlight and then switch back to Mel, because you don't like to hear me talk. It's all about the star. And today we're really highlighting V2. We've been trying to get V2 of Central Flows out for almost a year now, actually maybe over a year. We originally had planned to launch it around September of 2022, and we just got waylaid with a whole bunch of work and other things, and it just took a back burner. And I apologize for the long delay, but we finally have what we're calling V2. It's available. We've been testing it, and it's ready. The highlights for V2, if we were to pick a few, this conditional stuff that Mel was just mentioning, the ability to conditionalize the buttons to show up based on values in your form. We've got this new organized workflow UI in the config form that allows you to see states more visually. It's not like min-text really. I mean, min-text is also 6 figures or more if you want to buy it. This one's free, but we hope it improves the ability to categorize and see things versus just tables. So it gives you kind of cards and whatnot. The lock forms feature is also new, and we'll show that. We'll demo that, and then we've simplified the task pane in several ways. So Mel, I'm going to switch back to you to show how to add this to your form. And it really is a 10-minute exercise. Now there is some installation and initial setup required. Mel, what would you say? If you're going through that document that I showed earlier, I don't know if you've done this or not, but is it an hour? I mean, how long does it take to set it up? Assuming they have their form and their DXL database.
Oh, assuming they have everything set up at the back end, just adding the XDP into an existing form takes me less than 10 minutes, and we can actually watch that.
But what about I'm sorry, what about the initial setup? How long does that take, you think?
Initial setup, I think installing, running the SQL script, and if they have the Excel already, right, what else, loading into the deep Excel, maybe an hour or less, I'd say.
That's great. Okay. Yeah, and so it's an hour to install it, and it's 10 minutes. You'll see this right now. We're going to take this 2007 InfoPath form. I can't believe you're using the designer still, but you're only going to do that for a few things, right? Then you're going to switch into Forms Designer, right?
Exactly, you're right. We just need to add the XDP on this form and move things around just a minute or two. Doing that here in the InfoPath Designer, and then we'll switch you real quick to the Forms Designer, Qdabra Forms Designer. So here, as Patrick said, is the 2000 version of this expense report. I'm just gonna select my central flows XDP that I already added my custom controls there. So you ideally want it placed anywhere that is not part of any existing section. So I'm just adding or placing my cursor at the end there, and then just selecting my central flows XDP. So it's gonna add a bunch of objects. The schema is already pre-built for you, all the rules and bells and whistles in this. We even added the debug, the key rules history, execution history in the debug section for you. You don't have to add it. Thank you. Some of you already have central flows here. You know that you're gonna have to do it manually still, but in this second version release, you don't need to do that anymore. Okay, so the first step is to drag this after adding the XDP on your form, drag this section outside of its container section, as the instructions say. So I'm just going to grab that section and place it on a blank spot in there in my form canvas. So I did that. Then I'm going to place my cursor inside that section, just on top of this text, and actually move my existing form contents inside of that section. So the way I do that is I place my cursor at the beginning there and pressing my shift key plus the right arrow key on my keyboard to select the existing objects. Now dragging, placing all of those inside. So now I have my form content inside this section, and that's about it as far as view updates go. But here we'll see a header, which I don't like because I already have a built-in header that is part of the XDP. I'm just gonna have to rename it right here. Call this expense report. Let's just name it demo. And then that's it. Submit button is pre-built in this template, so I don't like this. I want to be able to use Central Flows XDP task pane buttons instead. So I just got rid of that. And then I'll just save this on my local machine, ready to upload into our Qdabra Forms viewer. So I'm just going to do a demo and switch over to my Forms viewer, manage templates, upload a new template, and grab the thing. I placed it in my demo folder right here. This one. So keep the name there, place it in my form group, and allow anonymous users for maybe later use if I decide so. So just uploading this, and then I'll open it in the Qdabra Forms Designer by clicking on the design button there. That was fast, that loaded fast. Now we're here. First thing I want to do is add key rules into this template because it doesn't have it yet. That's there. And then we'll go through the steps here. Quick steps. We've done the first 3 steps, and then we'll run the onload rules by setting Qdabra rules finish loading, which we now have after adding key rules. So I'm going to go to the finish loading node, click rules, add action rule. I'm going to call this run central flows, then add set a fields value. The field I want to set comes from the central flows data source, the XPP logic.
Wow,
I
there's
just
a
want to
lot
set
of
this
data
one.
connections there. Show me that again. That's
There
quite
are,
interesting. How many things does it
there
add?
are
It adds like 20 data connections. That's amazing.
more than, yeah, more than, and they didn't have to do them all themselves, right? So I'm
Right.
just setting this field to something that will trigger the rules that I have in there. So just anything like go there. That's about it for the finish loading rules, because then we go to the that data source, and here we'll update the QRules temp rules, field rules. So starting with the Qdabra rules command here. All right, so this is necessary because the XCPs won't allow us to add duplicate data source, the same data source, Qdabra rules data source, right? So I'm just going to go through this real quick. So here I'm setting those temporary fields into the actual Qdabra rules fields. This one goes to the success. If you haven't used the latest forms designer, I recommend you do, because it feels a lot smoother to use these days. Having tried this myself now. So I think I'm all set with those. And that's for step 5 there. Now for the environment variables, so one of the bonus features in this release is we got away from using an XML data source for all your environment values, such as your v2.0 URL, user key, and you would be familiar with how that process goes. Now we're using, let me just show you real quick here, although we have it in the presentation screenshots, but it's great to show it live here. In the manage environment variables here, we've got those keys, and I'm sure you won't see everything there, but yeah, let me switch back. Yeah, so we grab those variables from our forms viewer
So
instead,
it's
and
just two, right?
the
It's
one
just a config form, and what was the other one?
config, the MS graph keys, for
Uh-huh.
those SharePoint groups, whatnot, distribution lists, right?
How
And
many
then the
variables was it?
VDSL,
Was it 2 or 3 or 4?
we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total.
Okay, cool.
7 total. Yeah. No. We used to use again an XML data source to determine those DBXL URL. But now if I go to the onload rules here, we can see that we now use the adjust DBXL connections command, which automatically takes the URL and the key from the environment variables.
Yeah, I think we released
So
that last year, right?
yeah, we did.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, so if you've already set up these keys once, or these variables once, you won't have to do it again for your succeeding form. So it's just a one-time setup. Okay. And then we specify the doc type this form would submit to. I'm going to set that up in my VBXL submit node here. So go to rules and set values for VBXL submit. So it says your target doc type here. I'm going to grab it from my previous testing, one that I already set up, but you can create your own. This one is what I have been using. So going back there, I'm just going to paste that doc type name in here. Click OK and click done. Let's save this just for the heck of it. We don't want to lose anything while we're at it. So last 2 steps, I believe, is just placing these formulas in where they should be, because XDPs don't accept these kinds of complex preceding sibling, current XPath formula. So I'm just gonna grab that. I copied it and going into my repeating section here, which has those workflow buttons. I'm going to rules, and here says hide if same button. I added a placeholder there, one, just to replace that with a formula that you grabbed above in the help text. So click OK, that should be done. And then finally, the button that would allow us to access the debug section. Again, a complex formula that XDPs don't accept. So I'm just gonna copy this entire thing and change it to dynamic text. Now I can go to my formula box and paste the actual formula right there. So this labels our button with the actual form version that when we click, it shows us the debug pane. Okay, that's all there is to it for modifying this form. I'm going to save it one more time and then open, see if we did the right thing. All right, so right click, I'm sorry, clicking on that button, click open, and we'll see how beautiful the form would be with a Silver Flows
I mean, that's one of
task
the
pane.
major things you get for free here is this beautiful rendering now. As opposed to this fixed width thing, you have a responsive rendering. If you change the size of your view, yeah, it just magically fills what is there. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah, responsive. So cool. And right now you're not seeing any buttons yet because we haven't set up any workflow steps for this particular form yet. And again, we do that by clicking on the gear icon here and it takes us to the config form. And here we've got a new step. This is by default showing you the tabular view, but let's just show you the new view that we got. First thing is adding a new step. So we'll start with a new state there and add an action. We want to see we want to show the save buttons. When clicked, we want to set it to saved, right? And then assign it to the current user who's saving it. Add another action. This is essentially adding another button for this new state. So I'm just going to call it submit and you submit it. So for the purpose of this demo, we're going to assign this first button to, I'm going to add 2 buttons that are labeled submit. So I can essentially add multiple buttons like I talked to you about before that has the same labels, and then we'll differentiate them with conditions. So I'm going to say a step to the same status, right, submitted, but this one assigns to myself, and then the other one assigns it to my manager, which is Patrick. So for the condition, it takes the XPath expression. So just going back to my forms designer, I'd like to demo specifying an expense using a code. So I'm going to grab the XPath for this field. So no rules. On there, grab this guy, copy XPath, and go back to the config. Paste the XPath in here, and I'm going to say if expense code equals, let's say ER001, then assign it to my manager. Otherwise, if expense code is ER002 maybe, then assign it to me. So again, you can have multiple approve buttons, for example, and they will run behind the scenes. Form's going to be smart enough to know which state it's going to go next to. Maybe I'll change this to what do you think, Patrick? Submit. If it's assigning to myself again, maybe further review. I don't know, but something like that. So just you can control the state, the next state, and in assignee, next assignee based on the condition. So let's just go ahead and save this.
And that's the conditional, that's the new conditional logic, right?
Exactly, yes. And it can get complex, the formulas there. You can get creative, just like what you see with
I saw the expand thing as well. You have the ability to expand them.
Right.
That's new.
Long.
When did you add that?
CSS style.
Nice.
Okay, back in the expense report form here now, we can see those save and submit buttons. Again, even though we have 2 submit actions there, we only see 1 of them. So here
you just actually, as Madman, you went into the config form, you added those workflow, and then you just refresh this, right?
Exactly, yeah, I just refreshed.
That's how easy it is to modify the workflow. That's awesome.
True, you won't have to go into the designer to modify stuff. So I'm going to say this is going to be ER001, and as we know, it's going to get assigned to you, right?
Am I going to get an email?
You should be. There's a default email template that goes with this. So ER001, I think. I'm going to submit. The form will close, and then we'll refresh the dashboard. to see how that went. Okay, let's close. And you should have received an email by
I'm
now,
just hitting
Patrick.
refresh
So,
right now. I just had to launch Outlook, so I
right.
closed it. There it is.
Yeah,
Wow, that was fast.
awesome. I should receive it too because I think I'm BCC to everything.
Do you
I'll
want
show
me
you.
to open this up and show people what I've got? What I've got?
Oh, I got it because I'm BCC. So here
Okay,
was
sweet.
what Patrick received. That's just default. You can customize this. It's in a form template, so it accepts rich text. And if I actually click here, it will open techniques to form. But here we show the who submitted it, when, and the comment that got added in the dashboard. And yeah, that's it. And in my dashboard here, if I go to my forms, because I'm the one who submitted that form, I should be able to see it right here. And we'll see that it's assigned to Patrick. That's my note right there.
Cool.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna send or create a new one. This time I'm gonna set the expense code to ER002. So we'll test if it gets assigned to me based on the condition, right?
Then we're going to show locking, right?
And then we'll show locking, yes.
Yay.
002. Submit.
So do you want
So
me
I
to
think,
open the form, or do you want to open it?
yeah, let me have you open it. I'll send you the link so then it gets locked by you. And when I try to open it, we should be able to see an error message. So I'm just refreshing the dashboard, going to my forms again because I submitted both forms. And then here we'll see that one of them got assigned to me, the ER0021. So I'm just gonna copy oh, I shouldn't have opened, but let me grab the link for this and close the form. Just clicking on this close form button releases the lock. If your users don't click on the close form button there and just closes their tab, right, their browser tab, the lock expires in an hour by default. So I think that's okay. Yeah.
So can you
So
just
let me
paste that
send this.
link into Teams or something? Thanks.
Yeah, send it to you right now.
I'll just
There
open
you
it and
go.
let you know I've opened it, and then you can try to open it again on your side. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm opening it. Hold on. So sorry, 1 second, Mel. I'm trying to open it. I'm having trouble with my fingers. You know, I'm glad that we have fingers. I think that humans are capable of using computers with fingers. That's definitely a value. Okay, I'm opening the form. And it is opening, and I'm seeing the dots, and I'll let you know. Okay, it's rendered. It is opened, and I have the close form on the right. I don't
Great.
have the
It's
submit
not
button
assigned.
though, so it's not assigned to me. So I only see it close. Is that right?
Yeah, all you see is the close form button. So just don't close it yet. Don't click it. Let me
Okay.
open the same form, and we'll see what kind of behavior it shows us. There we go. So you get this warning right away, and I know you added to my plate to make this more inviting, make this more
Yeah,
yeah,
we're gonna
not
not make this
intimidating.
so blatantly obvious. We're gonna actually show them the form first. But if you click OK, you'll see the form, and it just won't have the buttons on the right. So
That's right.
cool. It would be kind
Exactly.
of nice on the right too, Mel, if we said locked by so and so on the right, just in case they ignored the pop up.
Yeah.
This locking feature actually is a really important feature that pretty much everyone asks us to implement. Usually it's in SharePoint. And in SharePoint you can use check in, check out. But the problem with that is that you've got two ways. People can kind of subversively go behind your back and modify the check in, check out, even though you have the form open, which kind of subverts the whole purpose of that. So this locking that we used to add locking. Actually, ALML's got an XCP that you can add for SharePoint locking that uses a list to do it. And so there's just one place, and then there's no way to subvert it. I guess you could go to the list and you could manually modify it. But typically what you do as an admin is you'd lock that down. You'd lock the list for locking down. But with Central Flows, you got DBXL, so we're doing the locking through DBXL, which is even more it doesn't, there's no contention. So like with the list, if two people try to lock it simultaneously, there could possibly, be a contention at some point and someone could fail. With v2.0, you don't have that problem. So that's the benefit of using a database, a SQL database with v2.0 on top of it. Sorry, Mel.
Sweet. Yeah, that's it for a demo, I think.
Okay, let's go back to the slides. And it is late in Kobe and my brain is not working. I'm gonna share out my screen. Hopefully you can see the slide deck again. Okay, so we just finished the demo. Can you see my screen, Mel?
Not yet.
Why not? Oh, there we go.
No.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. It just took a while. So we just did the demo, and I want to thank Mel for all the awesome work she's done on this solution for you. This is v2. We look forward to getting you upgraded. Just to recap what she showed, we've got new conditional workflow logic. Well, why would you want that? It's really important, believe me. I mean, it gives you the ability to have separate pathways depending on values in your form. Now, certainly you do have to add multiple approved buttons, but that's not a big deal. Maybe in the future we'll color these the same or have them showed grouped in some way. But anyway, you've got conditionality now, which is great. Mel showed the new workflow designer, and here's the animated GIF here in the PowerPoint presentation showing you adding a new card there. We have the new locking built in. Best of all, you get this better improved task pane. You can customize the background colors just like you used to be able to. It's just a slightly better, richer experience than the previous one. It automatically comes out and goes back. And there's a bunch of bonus features. The debug section she mentioned, email notifications, obviously, they've got the default now. You don't have to create them, but you can actually modify the email notification to be very complex as well and ease with you in your form to do so. So we've added a few steps here for kind of giving an idea of the installation upgrade process. You're going to basically run a script that Mel provides. Hillary and Mel have created this SQL script that you'll run to install to create the database. I'll list in the document, but these are the main steps. You upload the latest templates and config form and obviously the dashboard, and then set the environment variables. And it's not that hard. It's actually quite easy. So with that, I'd like to open the floor for any questions you might have. Thanks to Mel again for this awesome effort, and Hillary. Hillary was instrumental in many aspects of it, and we look forward to getting you upgraded. I'm just waiting for a question or a comment from the crowd, and hopefully you guys are all chomping at the bit to upgrade. We do have emails going out today asking you when you want to upgrade. We'll be scheduling those. We can schedule them as early as next week. The upgrade process, we'd want to schedule about an hour of effort there just in case we need it. It may not take that. If you've already got central flows, it may take less time. Thanks, Pete, for that first question. And your question is, will this work on all of our old forms? That's a great question. I mean, obviously, if you've got other workflows running on those forms and you've never had central flow, then you'll have two workflows running, but it won't like conflict with. I mean, obviously you'll get two emails, but you can do it both. You can have the old workflow and you can have the new one, and yeah, so it should work just fine in the old forms. Mel, is that correct?
Yeah, or keep the central flows one, or you're gonna have to like port your existing workflows into the central flows one. Just to centralize it.
Right. They could have the old one there until they're satisfied that it's working the same way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Misty, thank you very much for that comment. These upgrades are amazing. I already asked for an upgrade. Yes, we thank you for being so patient. We are excited to upgrade you, and I think you might be one of the top Central Flows users out there. So great to have you on the call. Thanks for joining at the last minute. I know we send these webinar emails out on Tuesday, but apparently the the spam filters now are so good that they're just removing everything from your inbox. So really glad that you could make it. And Pete has another comment. Okay, so we need to integrate the old flows. This is a great advancement. So yeah, I mean it basically. So I guess the question here is, Mel, to you, is if they've got Central Flows v1, those will just work in the new. I mean, they're not going to get duplicate Central Flows v2. It's just going to Central Flows v2 will just use the Central Flow v1 stuff as is, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you don't have to get rid of this Flow v1. If you're using Power Automate or Nintex or something, then you will get duplicate workflows if you add Central Flows. And once you're happy with Central Flows, you can just remove the other ones. If you already have Central Flows v1, you will not have duplicates. It'll just upgrade those already in place. So that obviously that will be really important for Misty and for others in the call who already have Central Flows. Thanks for those questions and those comments, and we look forward, like I said, to upgrading you. We've got more webinars coming. We're on a run right now with webinars every week for the next few weeks. Next week we have a customer testimonial, and then we have Forms Designer 2.3 that we're going to be announcing. A lot of cool stuff Jimmy's going to be demoing. We actually have that going out next week, so it'll be live by the time we demo it. And then we're going to have a special webinar talking about Microsoft's taunting you all about this 2026 end of life for InfoPath, which you should not care about because you don't have InfoPath. You're not using InfoPath for your forms anymore. But for some people, we're still missing some InfoPath Designer features. I've got a question in the 4-question survey about that. We're working really hard to get those final features done with InfoPath Designer so that you feel confident that you can do anything that you currently can do with InfoPath Designer in Forms Designer. I mean, there might be a few things that that we don't support by this time next year, but that's 2024. We still got 2 years of buffer, and we're making a lot of progress on that. So thanks for your patience there too. Hey, it's been great to demo, and we'll get this webinar posted on our YouTube channel. We'll appreciate if you can fill out this 4-question survey. We'll send you the package and everything, and we'll get you scheduled for the upgrades. Hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you next week. Thanks, Mel. Awesome job.
You bet. Take care, everybody.
Bye.